Toku Secrets is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Hey everybody, it's Jason from Power Rangers Time Force, and you're watching Toku Secrets Podcast.
Welcome to Toku Secrets. Join us as we journey into the marvelous world of Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, and many other tokusatsu. Get ready for the adventure of a lifetime. It's Morphin time! Link to the Morphin. I'm Nathan Desai, the dazzling adventurer, Spoken Silver.
And I'm Rizwan Merchant, Gosei Red.
And I'm Anthony Davis, also known as Curie Green. And we're Toku Secrets.
Alright, so today we are going to be taking a look at the second season of Power Rangers, the audio drama. We did season 1, and now we're going to do season 2. Now, before we get started, since many of the actors who are part of this show are part of this, we do want to say that we are doing this in the middle of the Screen Actors Guild strike. It did look as if a deal was struck, but then unfortunately the greedy people at Hollywood didn't want to agree to it, and that is unfortunate. But we want to say here that we are doing this. We're not being paid to promote this. We're doing this to promote the hard work of the actors who are part of this show, because without their hard work, stuff like this would not be possible. So we stand with them, and we stand with them through the end of his strike. Want to make that clear.
100% agree with that. Because those guys deserve our undying love and affection for what they've done for us.
And
they're
also
literally the face of the industry.
And it's funny because Riz and I actually met one of the actors in this season. Now, I don't know if he's part of the Screen Actors Guild or not, but
I have no idea.
But he was a pretty awesome guy. So, yeah, he and his wife were cosplaying. I'll tell you which character when we get to it, but
yeah,
kind of a fascinating story, and I'll go into that funny story when we get to it. But anyway, so first we're going to start off with a recap of season 1. So season 1, for the most part, was kind of a pretty straightforward adaptation of season 1 of the main series. We have the 5 teenagers, Jason, Zach, Trini, Billy, and Kimberly. They all found the power coins. The main difference being that they live in different areas of the United States. Jason in Chicago, Zach in Edison, New Jersey. Billy is in Sacramento. Trini in Westchester, and Kimberly still lives in Angel Grove. And they get recruited by Zordon. They become Power Rangers. They defend the world from Rita Bondora. A classmate and romantic interest of Kimberly named Tommy Oliver was given the Green Dragon coin to become the Green Ranger, and he was briefly brainwashed into battling the Rangers, and he almost killed Jason, but then he got freed. Then Rita's boss, Lord Zed, showed up, and he took over the invasion. He used this weapon to destroy the entire city of Chicago, and as a result, he killed Jason's family. And Tommy was killed in that battle against Goldar, and the Ranger Zords were all destroyed by the U.S. military because they were branded enemies. And the season ended on a cliffhanger. Tommy's dead, the Zords are destroyed, but a new hope was emerging. And that brings us, and I know I just made a Star Wars joke there.
I was about to say, Nathan, one might say a spark of rebellion has been born.
Yeah, that's totally true.
Indeed.
That's the second Star Wars reference for those that don't know.
Well, Riz and I do a Star Wars podcast, so
sorry, Anthony, we have to go there.
No, you're good. You're good.
we gotta cross promote somehow.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this, Jedi Squadron, you got to check us out there too, man. We're great.
It's like when Mistar Fusion, he does both the Dragon Ball Z podcast and a Dragon Ball Z thing and a Power Rangers one. And he was showing the scene where Tommy is like shooting energy from his hands, and he says, "Tommy, hummy, ha!" Like,
Tommy, hummy, ha! I love it.
Gotta cross promote somehow.
Yeah.
So. But anyway, so we got a lot to talk about with these because kind of a spoiler alert. This is a very story-heavy season. Like, if you guys thought that our previous podcast had a lot of story with this audio drama, you had that's going to be a complete cakewalk compared to what we're taking a look at.
We haven't
But
touched the
that is a
surface
good
yet.
thing. So we pick up episode 1 is called The Others, and we pick up pretty much from where the previous season left off. We of course get we once again meet the character Master Kaku, who was the old shopkeeper that gave Zack his power coin. And he reveals that he has his own team of Power Rangers. They're powered by power coins based on mythological creatures. And all of these Thunder Rangers, they're names that, I mean, I don't know, they sound kind of familiar if you're a Power Rangers fan.
You might know them vaguely. Let's see.
So the red he has the Zord of the Red Dragon. His name is Rocky D. Santos. The Green Lion is Adam Park. Yellow Griffin is Aisha Campbell. Pink Phoenix is Catherine Hillard. They call her Cat. And the now you might recognize all of those, but here's the big one. The Blue Pegasus is Tommy's older brother, David.
David Oliver.
Yeah,
David Oliver. So much like their main series counterpart, Rocky, Adam, and Aisha all live in Stone Canyon. Kat lives in San Francisco. Her family just moved from Australia. She's Australian in this version too. Unfortunately, David actually learns of his brother's death from the Rangers. He gets really angry and he throws his coin in rage. There's a lot happens in this where, since the Rangers Dinozords are destroyed, Master Kaku and Zordon are working to build the Thunder Ranger Zords, the Thunder Key Beasts, which are the Thunder Zords from season 2. They actually successfully create the Red Dragon Thunder Zord, and I'll talk more about how the Thunder Rangers are in a second. But but in this version, the Rangers will all share their Zord. So like Rocky and Jason share a Zord, David and Billy would share a Zord, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And Jason moves into Kim's house with her mother. He enrolls at Angel Grove High School, and they're both emotional wrecks because Kim just lost Tommy and Jason's lost his family, and they get a little too physical with each other one night. I'm not gonna say what happens, but you can. Everybody knows what happens.
I was going to say Baltica.
Nice try, Anthony, but I win this battle.
And Kim is feeling guilty for getting with Jason so soon after Tommy's death, but they admit that they like each other. For the end of the episode, the Thunder Rangers, they come together by themselves to fight off one of Zed's forces when they try to retrieve the remains of Serpentera. Jason and Rocky use the Red Dragon Thunder Sword to fight off a giant monster, and the episode ends with Zed revealing that he has his own Ninjetti power coin that he plans to use to create his own team of Shadow Rangers. And meanwhile, Kat is working with Rita, as Rita has a plan to eliminate both Zed and the Rangers. So a lot of stuff happened in this. Now, before we talk about our thoughts, just some references here. You guys can probably get, where Rocky, Adam, Aisha, and Kat all came from if you've watched Power Rangers. The Thunder Rangers are direct adaptations of the Gosei Sentai Dairangers. They have the same suits. The blue and pink Rangers, the animal motifs of their powers have actually been switched because they were called a unicorn and a firebird in the main series, but they've been changed to a Pegasus and Phoenix to match what their Rangers were called from Dairanger. Of course, so you guys should know who David is. He's the only Thunder Ranger who wasn't a Ranger in the main series, although funnily enough, some people did think that he might be the Gold Ranger during that saga of Zeo. Some people thought it was Billy. Some people thought it was David. Some people, believe it or not, thought it was Skull. Yes, that's Skull.
Dude, if Skull were to become a ranger, I would lose my mind.
Yeah.
In a good way, mind
Yeah,
you.
that'd be awesome. The Thunder Zords are called the Thunder Key Beasts, which is a reference to their counterparts' names, the mythical Key Beast and Dairanger. And their cockpits, at least as far as they're described, seem to be completely identical to their Dairanger cockpits. Like they stand up and they control their Zord's movements through like an orb on a console. So that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, the only other reference is that Zed calls his coins the Ninjetti power coins, which these are adaptations of the Ninja power coins, but the name Ninjetti comes from the 1995 movie.
Yeah.
So,
and one thing I think we kind of glossed over, but I do want to hit real quick because
Go
there
ahead.
is emotional stuff going on there. In episode 1, we also do attend Tommy's funeral.
Yep.
Which is a pretty charged moment for many reasons. One being Trini used this as an opportunity to try and convey to Billy how much she cares about him and wants something more than friendship with him. And Billy is completely unable to figure this out.
Oh, Billy.
And he's like, yeah, Trini, we're going to be best friends for life.
Oh.
My heart fell. It was like, no, poor Trini. I want them to be together. I sip them.
Yeah. Yeah, I once made a list of like top 10 Power Ranger couples that I wished happened, and Billy and Trini was like number 1 on that list.
Yeah, I mean, it makes so much sense in both continuities.
Mm-hmm. Like the same way that, like, I mean, I can't remember who else I put on my list. I think I put maybe Leo and Kendricks, although they may have ended up together if Kendricks didn't get killed off. But
right, yeah.
Well, she came back to life.
But yeah, but just at the end. I mean,
you don't know what happens after the end.
Okay,
we
maybe
really don't. Maybe they need to get together.
Happy ever after. You don't know.
Yeah, that's true. But what do we think of this first episode, guys?
Okay, so all the emotion, all the buildup, all the stress. So we just lost Tommy in a very brutal way. The entire city of Chicago is burned to a crisp. Lord Zed's still out there and a big threat to the planet. The Rangers have no Zords, and all hope is lost. And then in walks in A New Hope. Sorry, Nate, I have to steal your words there. And they bring with them the power of thunder, which is pretty awesome in my opinion, because without this, they didn't have any way to fight back effectively anymore. So I really like the way we integrate these people in, and also it gives a bigger dynamic that we're going to see unfold through the rest of these episodes, because now we have 2 teams and we can have many different configurations that we're going to get into later, like full-on Thunder Rangers, full-on Mighty Morphin, and then crossovers where we have some Mighty Morphin, some Thunder, and it just gives you a lot more dynamic uses of the characters to let people do other stuff outside of fighting putties all day.
Yep.
And I am also a fan of Kimberly's internal struggle with the funeral, with Jason, with David. That's a lot of internal struggling there. And whoever is the actor who plays Jason, dude, that's a top tier performance to express. Like the emotion he portrayed, it felt really authentic to me.
Get this guy some voice acting roles, especially if they ever decide to do, like, say for instance, a animated version of mmpr. Definitely hire him to be your Jason.
Okay, hire him for Jason and hire Zoe Sorless, who is Tommy, to play Tommy in something because, dear God, they sound the exact same.
Right.
And you know what you could also do for all those Mighty Morphin Season 2 episodes where Jason, Trini, and Zach aren't actually there because Austin St. John, Tui Trong, and Walter Jones aren't there. You could get this guy who voices Jason to redub Jason's lines because he sounds more like Jason than fake Jason in the
Oh my God, not
Oh my
fake
God.
Jason.
Okay, you know what? This is a bit of a crossover topic, Nate, but so tomorrow, for those of y'all that haven't been following us on Jedi Squadron, I'll be going to a little convention called Beaumont Comic Con.
Yeah.
And my primary reason for going is to meet one of the parts that make up Wedge, who is a minor character in A New Hope. And this is the guy who voices him. And that just got me thinking, how cool would it be if, like, Ranger Stop or Morphicon were to find those people who dubbed over Jason, Trini, and Zach's lines and brought them to a con someday?
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I think that'd be very interesting.
You could get the guy who dubbed over Billy's voice during that one scene, and at the end of Zeo when they show no, not the end of Zeo, but at the end of Billy's last episode in Zeo where they show him as his younger self, but you can't actually have David Yost talk since David Yost is not there.
Yeah.
And maybe the guy who did fake Connor's fake Connor's voice in that Beast Morphers episode.
Dude, you know what's the worst? You know what's the worst dubbing in all of Power Rangers, though?
What's that?
In Dino Thunder, there's a bit where Cassidy is chasing those kids for the video, the white.
Oh my God! I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, I hate that.
You're talking about that kid, right?
Yeah,
Every time I watch that episode,
it was White Ranger art.
Every time I watch that episode, I always get the most cringe because they had a perfectly capable kid who could talk his own lines, in my opinion, in my thought. But they let him talk, then they dubbed him over with this crazy accent.
Hey, lady!
Like, why did we need to do that? Like, I can kind of understand if you want to protect the kids and not let them talk for some parental whatever reasons or whatever, but really?
Mm-mm.
But anyway, getting back to this, like I just like honestly when I watched this episode, like I was kind of like I feel like this is literally the beginning of them like just taking things up to like an 11 because like you were telling me like Riz like how they like bring in Rocky, Adam, and Aisha, and I just thought, okay, like are they gonna kill Jason, Trini, and Zach? But no, like they bring them in and we have like these two different Ranger teams. Like this is an honestly like amazing concept that I mean I wish they could do in the actual main series. Now, of course, they can't because of Sentai footage and all that.
Well,
but,
also, we are transitioning into a new meta and new continuity altogether, apparently.
Yeah. But, yeah, I was honestly just blown away. And I was really curious, like, okay, they bring in the Thunder Rangers because they kind of spoiled that with the front cover with like the cover thing that they use for this, at least on Spotify. And I was thinking, okay, red, green, and yellow are the Stone Canyon kids. That's a given. Pink can be Cap, but who is blue? And when they revealed David, I'm like, oh my God, that fits perfectly. Like I remember when I was listening to this for the first time, like it honestly blew my mind just how perfectly they transition here. And I love how they share the Zords. Because, I mean, sharing Zords is something that they did in the main series, too. Because, like, when they introduced the Shogun Zords, in order to compensate for the fact that there's only 5 and not 6 of them, they said, okay, we'll just have Tommy and Kimberly share the white one.
Yeah.
Like, so, like, this writing is, like, S-tier writing with how they're bringing in the Dairanger characters, basically.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, the entire concept. So we should probably move on to the next episode so we can start talking about the Zord interactions a bit more.
Oh, yeah.
But what do we want to give the first one out of 10, guys?
Can I give this like an 11?
That's right.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it I would give it. I'm giving it a 10, but if I could give it more than a 10, I'd give it more than a
Okay,
10.
I'm gonna go with a 10 because that's more reasonable.
Yeah.
But you will not continue me for long, dang it.
What about you, Anthony?
I'm gonna give it a 10. I'll give it 11. I'll give it 11 as we move forward, but I want to just do a 10 for now. Then
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so now we have episode 2, Shadows of the Past, which is more of like the Rangers dealing with some personal issues closer to home. So we get a flashback where we're shown how Kim met David, and they didn't really get along too well because David called Kim a very offensive word since she was wearing a not so modest Harley Quinn costume, which David can be kind of a jerk in this season. I'm not
David
he's not my favorite character in the entire thing. I did not like him at all.
He doesn't get better in season 3. He's the same thing, like same kind of personality.
Oh Lord.
Though in season 3, he does have some cool characterization going on.
Like, okay, let's before we continue, I feel like I have to say this before we continue.
All right, let's do it.
I don't necessarily blame David for like him being upset at what happened to his brother. I understand that his brother's gone and he just wants to take his anger on somebody. But even later down the line, when things get somewhat better, he still has this mentality of, I'm going to be a complete dick for no reason. It's like, dude, why? Like, why are you so like this? Like, it just irritated me. But that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah.
So then we fast forward to the present time. The Rangers are all attending a costume party. Kimberly gets a little upset over Tommy's death because Rocky shows up dressed up like the Joker, which is what Tommy was dressed up as during that costume party. And she breaks down crying, but then the other Rangers, the girl Rangers, give her a pep talk and they urge her to move on with her life. She and Jason have a moment and they kiss, but then she sees a vision of Tommy as she's kissing Jason, which sends her into a panic. Now, as Riz said early in the previous episode, Trini's been making unsuccessful advances toward Billy, and they decide, let's get Billy drunk and get him to confess his feelings to Trini. And they do, and that's when Billy apologizes that he never realized how Trini felt. And he says, I really care about you, but if I lose you, I don't know what I would do. So pretty understandable stuff.
Yeah.
Billy's being pragmatic, which makes sense given the character.
Yep.
Yeah, and similar to what Billy's going through, I was going through a similar thing that he was going through because, like, one of the girls that I'm friends with, wants to be more than friends, but I'm kind of hesitant because I'm like, if it doesn't work out with our friendship, or if it's awkward, that type of thing. So I know how he feels.
Yeah.
Now with some further stuff, and this is actually something that I didn't see coming, but I'm all for it. Kimberly is speaking with issues with Tommy and Jason, and while she's speaking with Adam, and Adam is frustrated when he sees Rocky and Aisha making out because Rocky and Aisha are a thing in this show. And Adam says that he has feelings for one of them, and it's not Aisha. He might have feelings for Rocky.
Yeah.
So he wants the Rocco.
And he's very confused.
Handle the Rocco.
Can't handle Rocco.
He's very confused. He's not sure if he's gay or not, but Kimberly tells him, that he needs to take time to figure out who he is. Then elsewhere, we get a little bit more of the story. Rita meets with Finster. He's serving as a double agent between her and Zed, and he reveals her plan to use the Ninjetti coins, and she hatches a plan to have Zed work with the military, so she'll gain Rangers through the military and turn the humans even more against the Rangers. And Lord Vinster convinces an unsuspicious Zed to go through with it, and Goldar shows up in a human disguise to begin negotiations. The end of the episode, Zed attacks Beijing with battle suits, and the Rangers show up to fight him off. And Jason also uses the Dragon Zord here. He feels very guilty using Tommy's powers. And then finally, Master Kaku completes the final mythical thunder beast, the Phoenix Thunder Zord, and they use that to form the Thunder Megazord for the first time, and they defeat the battle suits. They cheer on their victory, and that's when Zordon and Kaku revealed that there is a 6th power coin from the sets of the Thunder coins that was so powerful that it was hidden on another planet to prevent it falling into the wrong hands. This is the White Tiger power coin, which is powered by something called the White Light, and they suspect that this coin has the power to revive Tommy, which is why which is why we didn't mention this. Tommy was given a funeral, but it was an empty coffin. They've been keeping Tommy's body in the command center, and this is why, because they think that the coin could revive Tommy, which David finds this out for the first time, and he's not too happy about it.
Kimberly is also having a panic attack here because if she had known, she and Jason may not have gotten as friendly, so to say.
Yeah, there would have been all that bachika wow going on.
Mm-hmm.
And the episode ends with the president of the United States. He seethes over not being able to fight off the aliens and waiting for the Rangers to save them. And then a businesswoman named Barbara Goodson shows up and reveals that she has a company that has their own power coins. And okay, it's Rita in disguise, and you could probably figure that out.
What? Oh my God!
Now, a couple of references and Easter eggs. Now, this is one that I caught. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I don't care. I still think it's cool. At the costume party, Billy is wearing a mad scientist costume. He was actually wearing a mad scientist costume in the Halloween-themed episode Zed's Monster Mash. And also, in the Zeo episode, it came from Angel Grove, which is an episode where Adam has like a dream where like all of his friends are like crazy people. Billy was a mad scientist named Dr. William von Hockensock. So that's pretty cool. At one point in the episode, the girls suspect that Billy not catching on to Trini's advances may be because he's gay, which most of you should know why that's interesting, because the actor who played Billy in the main series, David Yost, is openly gay himself. I'm not going to go into more details about that because most people know what he went through on the show regarding that. And Rita's human disguised name is Barbara Goodson, which is the name of her voice actress who has voiced the character through the entire Zordon era of the main series. And I think her voice was used in Cosmic Fury. It wasn't used for that one episode of Mystic Force where they established that Rita was the Mystic Mother. But But I think Barbara Goodson was used she was used for the Robo Rita or whatever it was called in Once and Always.
Yeah, you read it right. It's Robo Rita. You read it right.
Yeah.
So what do we think about this episode, guys?
Okay, so before I get into my thoughts, I do want to throw out another Easter egg. So whenever the main series season 2 cast starts calling the Thunder Zords, they'll call out and say a Tyrannosaurus Red Dragon Thunder Zord. Like Jason will say that entire sentence. But because the Zord is split between two people, Jason calls out Tyrannosaurus, Rocky calls out Red Dragon, Kimberly calls out Pterodactyl, Kat calls out Phoenix Zord. And I just thought that was a really cool callback to how we summoned the Zords in the main series, but you give it a creative, different way of doing it because these guys say are Zord now. So I think that's really cool. Now, with that aside, this is a really good episode. I mean, again, the drama's building up. We're getting a lot of backstory on the new characters. We get Rocky and Isa bumping the big nasty.
The big nasty. I'm sorry.
We get Kimberly with this big moral dilemma that she slept with Jason, and now Tommy's coming back, and so how can she ever face Tommy, knowing what she did? And she's just even before she's haunted by Tommy and his death and what she's doing. She feels immensely guilty about it. So there's a lot of emotion building up here, and I am all for it. Like,
same.
This is such a emotionally charged set of episodes, and I just think grade A work by Karl Dutton and his crew.
I think the only problem I have is that, and let me clarify that a character being changed to be gay is not a problem that I have. It's more that Rocky and Aisha getting together. Here's the problem I have with that. Based on the episodes that I've seen from season 2 and everything, I always got the vibe that if I was going to ship Aisha with anyone, I would ship her more with Adam.
Yeah.
Than Rocky. So now, if you wanted to have Adam and Aisha hook up and then have Rocky be the one who's thinking about whether or not he's gay, I'm cool with that. That's fine. I don't mind the one of these people being gay. It's just more that
I think I agree with you on this one because I feel like Rocky would be the one that you think would be quote unquote the gay one, right? Because not saying it's bad. I'm just saying like I don't know how to explain this. It's like the character didn't really have much going on, so you feel like you can kind of like give this character like, okay, this character can be this. Whereas opposed to Adam had pretty much had a whole storyline going on with him in the original series or whatever. So they didn't really have to make him gay. But I mean, I get what you're saying though, so it's fine.
Because Rocky didn't even have a romantic interest. I don't think I know he had like one. She was either deaf or blind. I can't remember, but it was in Zio.
She was blind. I think.
Was she blind? Okay, I don't remember.
Yeah, but she's the only romantic interest. While with Adam, Adam had this one episode, literally the first regular episode with the Stone Canyon kids. He has a crush on this one girl. I always thought that he and Aisha kind of hit it off, had a lot of chemistry. And then when Aisha left, I always got the vibe that he and Tanya could be a thing. There's literally one episode where somebody calls Adam Tanya's boyfriend in Zio. So
yeah,
and literally there was 2 episodes where they kind of seemed like they were gonna get together, especially with Sean being out of the picture, being the douchebag he was towards her. So it's like, Adam was like, I'll step in,
But I'm okay with this change in writing only because it gives us a more 3-dimensional character and gives more depth to the character.
Yeah, and I'm good with that. Adam is one of my, I don't know if I would put Adam in like my top 10 favorite Rangers, but I really love Adam as a character. So, I'm cool with this change. It's just, I
feel like I would, if I had my choice to make my own version of this, I wouldn't necessarily make him gay. Cause I'm just like, I don't know. I would probably just, tell it a different way, but not change too much, if that makes sense,
It's important to give representation. And I think, had to be somebody.
And like I said, I'm cool with it. Just from a personal standpoint, I don't know. I just always thought that Adam and Aisha had this cute chemistry together in the main series, and they would be in the same way. I always thought that Billy and Trini should have ended up together. Adam and Aisha were always cute together, even if they weren't actually a couple. But that's just a personal nitpick. That's not going to be giving this episode a 10 out of 10. I'm still going to give it a 10.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
What about everybody else?
I think it's obvious that we're all giving this a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, obviously.
Come on, Nate. Catch up.
Yeah, totally. So then we have a 2-part episode called White Light, which, just to get this out of the way, that is That is the same name of the episode in season 2 that saw the debut of the White Ranger. They're reusing names again, which is cool. I mean, White Light is probably my favorite episode of the season 2 of the main series. So I'm cool with reusing that name. So at the beginning of the episode, Kaku reveals that the White Tiger Power Coin is on the planet Phaedos. We'll talk about that in a second, although most people should know where that name came from. And he's confident that the Tiger Coin will connect with Tommy, so they set off in Kaku's ship toward the planet. Billy stays with all the Thunder Rangers except David, while David goes with the first 5. And he and the Thunder Rangers stay to keep the city protected, since the Thunder Zords can now be used just being piloted by one Ranger.
Yeah.
We actually get some cool character moment for Jason where he is actually conflicted over whether or not he wants. Well, actually, he's thinking, if this White Tiger coin can revive people, could I use it to revive my family? But then he realizes, no, I have to use it for Tommy. But really nice touch. I love that.
Well, the problem is, if he did use it to revive his family, he could only revive one member.
Yep.
And he would need the body.
Yeah, because like everybody's pretty much, up in smoke, ashes, reduced to atoms, basically.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a little. I had to throw my own little Avengers type of
Yeah, no, I get it.
teaser in there. Yeah.
So those 5 Rangers, they show up on Phaedos. They can only go themselves because Kaku can't be on the planet because, and it's so funny how Riz and I were making a bunch of Star Wars references before, because this episode literally makes a Star Wars reference directly.
One of us.
It's strong with the morphing grid, and Zach literally says, "So this is strong with the morphin force." Wow, we really are in a Star Wars movie now.
Hell yeah.
I love Zach in this series so much with those references. So he can't enter on the planet, and they arrive and they encounter a warrior named Dulcia. Again, that should be a familiar name. And they have to convince her that, they're working for Kaku, and then she leads them to the White Tiger Power Coin. But where it's being stored, and the guardian of the temple has to judge whether or not Tommy is worthy. So while that's happening, Kat, who is, as you might remember, is working for Rita, which I forgot to mention. Kat working with Rita is kind of similar to how she her debut in the main series. The only difference is that in the main series she was under a spell from Rita, while here she's doing it out of her own free will, but we'll find out why she's doing that.
Yeah, there's a reason why.
Yeah.
Actually, it's revealed right here. Kat reveals the Rangers plan to use the White Tiger coin. Rita actually calls this the Great Power. I'll bring that up in a second. And Rita recruits Kat to help train a new team of Rangers with the Ninjetti coins, and she gives Kat the White Falcon coin. And it's also revealed that the reason why Kat is working with Rita is because she's forced to, because Rita is holding Kat's family captive.
Yeah.
So she's not doing this because she's evil. She has no choice. Then the following morning on Phaedos, the Rangers enter the temple where they encounter a talking short sword named Saba. If you're a Power Rangers fan, you should know who Saba is. And he's the guardian of the temple, and he wants to judge. He has to judge if the Rangers are worthy or not. He questions the motivations for all the Rangers. Jason's true motivations if he wants Tommy back, because Jason is questioning whether he really wants Tommy back, because if Tommy is back, that would prevent him and Kimberly from getting together. Zach is revealed to have feelings for Trini and wishes that she would stop chasing Billy. And David is much more vengeful. Like, he wants to kill kill Zed for killing Tommy.
Yeah.
But eventually, Saba deems Tommy worthy, and he gives them the White Tiger coin, though he warns it that it comes with a lot of responsibilities.
And a heavy price.
Yep. Rita and the other Rangers on Earth have to fight Scorpina and the Thunder Megazord, and we don't see how the battle goes, but it gets severely damaged as revealed in the next episode. And the episode ends with Lord Zed. He attacks the Rangers on Phaedos because he was informed of their mission from Goldar, and they have to fight off the Zedorian forces, but they get overwhelmed, and the Rangers escape just in time, but unfortunately, Kaku and Dulcia don't make it. They're killed on Phaedos.
Yeah.
But they do get the White Tiger coin, so it does end on a somewhat triumphant note. Now, a little bit of some trivia. You guys probably picked up on the elements adapted from the 1995 MMPR movie. You have the planet Phaedos, and Dulcia. These are places where the Rangers got their ninjetti powers in the 1995 movie. And funnily enough, Rita actually calls the White Tiger coin the Great Power at one point. That's what the ninjetti power was called to. There's a little bit of an element of Dairanger adapted here because Saba being the person who judges whether or not someone is worthy of obtaining the coin. That's kind of how it worked in Dairanger too, because his counterpart, which was called Byakko Shinken, I know that's the name. I probably just botched how you pronounce it.
That's how it's pronounced.
He was the one who judged whether someone or not could become Kiba Ranger because he was in a stone and someone had to pull it out of a stone. So it's not quite the same as what Byakko Shinken does in Dairanger, but it's still the same role effectively, which I liked. I liked that. That was pretty cool. This is something that Riz noticed. He's talked about all these different team formations. The 5 Rangers that protect the Earth are Billy, Rocky, Aisha, Adam, and Kat. That's the entire season 3 team with the exception of Tommy. So that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I already said that this episode shares its name with the debut of the White Rangers thing in season 2. So, what do we think of this one, guys?
It's a good setup episode, in my opinion, to the next one. A lot of expose on like the characters' inner thoughts and what their motivations are right now, with Jason struggling about how to handle Tommy come back. Kimberly also equally struggling with how to bring Tommy back. Zach is Zach. I mean, not much I can say there.
Yeah. I mean, I just loved these Star Wars references.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Like even when they're just like going through space in Kaku's ship, like Zach is always, man, I woke up this morning on a regular day and now it's like I'm in a Star Wars movie flying through this ship or something. I just love that. And I think my favorite element here, like I said, I know I just said this, but like I love how Saba is like the person who is the person who determines if someone is worthy of being the White Ranger. Because I mean, Saba was cool and everything in the main series, but he was really just this talking sword that occasionally gave Tommy advice. Like, I honestly like him being like as much as I have mixed issues for Dairanger, the one thing I love about Kiba Ranger, even though I do think he's one of the worst 6th Rangers in Sentai, the one thing I love is the idea of there being a talking sword that he has to pull out, someone has to pull out of a stone to see if they're worthy of being Kiba Ranger. And I love how they adapt that element here. As much as I have issues with Kiba Ranger as a character, the one thing I love is how the origins behind his powers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. But I mean, Saba is a bit of a morally ambiguous character, as we'll find in later episodes, but
a little bit.
It's still pretty cool. I love how
his voice actor drives me nuts sometimes, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Saba's voice actor in this?
Yeah.
I'm curious as to why.
Oh, he rolls the R's a lot.
I had noticed that too, but that didn't really bother me as much. I was just like,
it bugged me a little bit. It's not like a showstopper or anything, but It definitely was distracting.
I wonder if it was intentional, like he was just rolling his R's on purpose just to kind of like be stuck up. I don't know. Like,
Yeah. No, he definitely comes off a lot more like stuck up and arrogant than other Rangers and allies have in the past.
you know what's really crazy though is that in the Boom comics he was kind of stuck up in that one too, somewhat, just a little tiny bit. But then he kind of like wasn't as bad as it was before. At least in the Go-Go Power Rangers line, because then there was two different comic book storyline issues that we're going to do. They split it up. It was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers that was its own thing, and then Go-Go Power Rangers was like a kind of like a before when they first started becoming Rangers.
I mean, either way, he has more personality than he did in the main series. Because the only episode I remember Saba having any personality was that one filler episode where Rita stole it, and
I remember that one.
Yeah.
She used it to summon the Tiger Sword, and Saba's always, no, put me down, stop, I don't want to do this.
Right.
So, do we want to move on to part 2 now, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, part 2 picks up where after everyone mourns the loss of Kaku, they're able to use the Tiger Coin to morph Tommy into the White Ranger, and he's revived. Everyone's overjoyed. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Zed is forced to retreat back to his homeworld because he receives a distress call that their forces that their homeworld is under attack from another empire. I'll tell you which empire it is when we get to the references section. And he sends the Ninjetti power coins to Goldar, and Goldar encounters Finster and Bandura, and he has to work with them since he can't rat them out to Zed. And it's revealed that these shadow coins, that's what they're dubbed thanks to Finster's modifications, will slowly corrupt the users to obey the commands of Bandura. And of course, the white one is already cats, and they get their first recruit. They get this 19-year-old Army private named Chad Yeager. He's given the red ape coin. Meanwhile,
pay very special attention to Chad. He becomes pretty critical going forward.
Yep. Tommy gets caught up with Kim, and she invites him to stay with her since he can't go back home. And that's where Jason decides that he's going to take a break from his Ranger life, and he goes to move in with Zach. And Tommy is made in charge of a team. Tommy briefly returns home to his overjoyed mother because, but she has to keep his secret. Billy and Trini's relationship kind of goes a little bit more. They had a brief kiss before Trini left to Phaedos, and they talk about their relationship, and they decide they might go on a date later. Tommy confronts Kim on what happened with her and Jason, but, Kim insists, no, I don't have feelings for Jason anymore. And elsewhere, Adam, who was encouraged to try online dating, he goes out with a guy that he meets online. You know who that guy's name is, guys? Chad Yeager.
Oh, darn, I was going to say something.
Chad Yeager. So Chad is going to be a really big character here, guys.
Yep.
And then the episode ends with Kat and Chad. They're attending a training session. They get morphers, and they become their own white and red Shadow Rangers. Their voices change in order to keep their identities a secret. And now there's only 3 Shadow Rangers left to recruit. A couple of references. The empire that attacks Zed's homeworld is called the Machine Empire, which is led by King Mondo. If you are a Power Rangers fan, you should know that those are the main villains of Power Rangers Zeo. They were adapted from the Baranoia villains from Shoriki Sentai Dairanger. Tommy, his very first line that he says to Kim after becoming the White Ranger is the exact same thing that he says to Kim in White Light Part 2, which is, hey, beautiful, which is nice touch. I don't know if that was intentional, but if it was, that's awesome.
It has to have been. There's no way.
Yeah.
And other than that, Jason stepping down as the leader is kind of similar to what happened. I mean, here Jason steps down voluntarily, while in the original episode it was very unceremonious and a line that was very clearly added in at the last minute, since by the time that episode was in post-production, Austin St. John, Tui Trong, and Walter Jones were off the show. But so that concludes the White Light saga. What did we think of this one, guys?
I really enjoyed this a lot, because we're getting more about, the Shadow Rangers and the Jedi powers, and there's a lot of build-up coming here for later on. And while this wraps up a story arc as powerful as the White Light, in my opinion, this is all set up for the remainder of the season, because the stuff that happens after this is a direct consequence of what's happened in this episode.
Yeah.
Like most everything that happened here has pretty big consequences going forward, and I think this is a really big setup episode.
Mm-hmm. I kind of wish there wasn't much action with like this. Part 2 didn't have as much action. I wish that we got like one big fight scene where like maybe Tommy fights by himself, but I mean, not a big deal. I mean, I still think that this White Light 2-parter is still 10 out of 10. I mean, I don't know. Unlike Green with Evil, I actually think that White Light is a 10 out of 10 episode in season 2 as well. But it's the main series, that is. But I guess we're all going to give this a 10 out of 10 as well.
I'm giving it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. And for everybody who's listening, a lot of these episodes are going to be a bit shorter on content, but once stuff gets wild, things are going to get wild very soon. So just a fair warning. So we have episode 5, The Shadows and the Light, where, we get a little bit of drama between Kim and her dad, because Kim actually knew that she was a ranger, and he tries to convince her not to. And Tommy has to go move back in with his mom. Chad and Kat get a new teammate. They get an arrogant army captain named Dominic Ramirez. He gets the Black Frog and then Jedi coin. And I think he actually complains that his animal motif is a frog, which is exactly what Adam did in the 1995 movie. I wish he did that in the main series too. Right. I really wish that.
I'm a frog.
And by the way, I love Kaku Ranger, but really, guys, come on, why would you want to give someone an animal motif of a frog? How cruel do you have to be?
But what's wrong with a frog, though? I mean, frogs are what? They have strong legs. They can hop. They're very, I'm not gonna hate on frog. If I got frog, cool. If it's cool looking, I'll take it.
I know. I just think it's funny. I just love how depressed Adam is in the 1995 movie. Man, Rocky gets an ape, Tommy gets a falcon, Aisha gets a bear. What am I? A frog.
I'm like, Adam, just give me this freaking power coin. I'm taking myself shoot. Stop.
So Rita's plan for the last 2 power coins is that they're going to attack a lab in Siberia, Russia, because there's 2 superhumans that are apparently being bred in the lab. And Tommy gets revealed his white tiger Zord, which Saba can help him control. And for the rest of the episode, Kat, Chad, and Dominic, they infiltrate the facility and they steal the 2 female superhumans. Tommy, Billy, Kimberly, and the 3 Stone Canyon kids, they arrive to stop them. And but they're not able to, prevent them from escaping, because Kat's white Shogun Zord arrives and takes them away. And Tommy can't stop them with his white tiger Zord. And then the president announces the Shadow Rangers. The blue and yellow Rangers are now part of it. So the Shadow Rangers are now all complete. Adam actually suspects that Chad might be one of them, since when he met Chad. Chad says he was working on a top secret military project, but he's unsure. And then the episode ends with Kat receiving a call from her father telling her not to let Bandora control her, but, you know, Bandora threatens to kill Kat's family if she stops, and that causes Kat to start crying. A couple of things. This is another one of those things where we get like a team combination. So we have Tommy, Billy, Kimberly, Rocky, Adam, and Aisha. That's the whole post power transfer season 2 team. So that's pretty cool. And we of course get the White Tiger Zord debut here. That being an adaptation of the Dairanger's Wand Tiger. And the White Shogun Zord also first appears here. The Shogun Zords were a thing, not in season 2 of the main series, but season 3. And Zordon says there's 4 additional Shogun Zords. I guess we could probably just say that this episode is just another setup, like further setting up like the bigger stuff that's going on. Do we want to say that?
That's what I was going to say, is there's a lot of setup here again, but there's also really cool moments in here because I just think the entire Siberia subplot where they have to go there to kidnap their blue and yellow, I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah.
And it just goes back to show that while the main series focused on Angel Grove, this is a real global threat.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's escaping it with without blood. Like
literally,
Lord Zed and Rita don't care.
Yeah, they'll use whatever asset they want to. Doesn't matter where you're from, what country you're from, who you are as a person, whatever. If you're an asset to them and they feel you're useful, they'll use you.
I mean, we're probably going to give this one a 10 out of 10 too, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, here we go, guys. This is going to be the episode where things get incredibly insane. So here we go. Everybody who's listening, buckle in because it's going to, like, just when we're not going to catch our breath for another couple of episodes.
Stuff gets real. Stuff gets real. Replace stuff with the other word, yeah.
Okay, without giving away too many spoilers, we're not going to be able to catch the breath again until episode 3 of season 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just throwing it out there.
So episode 6, which is called Final Strike, it takes place a little while after the previous episode. A lot of cities have come under attack. I'll actually mention them by name in the reference portion of this episode. The Shadow Rangers are fighting them off with their Shogun Zords, which they can also combine to form the Shogun Megazord, as with the show. The main Rangers are, of course, frustrated because, they know that Rita is behind it. And they try to come up with a plan to reveal Rita. But then, of course, Kat, being the bug, she reveals the plan to Rita and she prepares her in-game plan. So Rita goes to the president and gives him files revealing the identities and the information of each of the Rangers. There's protests from a certain character named Agent William Mitchell. That name should sound familiar, but I'll talk about that in the reference section. The president decides to go through, and for the rest, now before we do that, go into what happens after that. There's a bit of a subplot where Tommy reveals that he can't eat, he can't sleep, he literally can't do anything, and he confronts Saba, and Saba reveals that he was revived through what is called the white light, and it is taking him over, and it is slowly turning him into an ultimate warrior, and that results in him losing anything that makes him weak. So he's losing his humanity, basically. Yeah. And
another thing to note here before you continue. The comics actually did this somewhat.
Oh,
but the only thing was he couldn't sleep. Like he had a lot of energy. He just would not be able to like fall asleep at all when he had the White Ranger powers. So it was like, oh, okay, so that's what they kind of adapted that from here.
Well, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And this makes Tommy immortal, but his feelings and emotions will be slowly taken away. And if Tommy were to give it up, he would die. Now, before Tommy can talk with Kim about it, the SWAT team arrives and raids her house, and they're both arrested. Their morphers get confiscated. David and Trini both get arrested. Billy and the Stone Canyon kids, they get teleported to the command center. Adam got warned by Chad just before his house was raided, but everyone's families are taken into custody. Jason and Zach arrive back. Zach is able to fight off the SWAT team, but when they try to arrest his parents, but then he gets teleported away and Jason gets arrested. And now most of the team is captured, and with there only being a handful of Rangers left, Rita, knowing where the command center is, she sends the Shadow Rangers minus Kat to attack the command center. And Zordon and Alpha activate the emergency system where they take the command center up into space. They give chase in the Shogun Zords. And in the middle of this all, Bondora accidentally reveals herself to Agent Mitchell. She reveals her, sorcerer form. And she also turns Goldar into his monster form, and she brainwashes Mitchell into revealing the most powerful missile that the U.S. has. And she has Mitchell fire a nuclear missile at the command center, and kaboom. The end. The command center just got blown up.
Whew, where have we seen that before?
Right.
Things getting crazy, man.
Couple of references. The Shogun Zords and the Shogun Megazord debut here, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, although I suspect it was. I think it's interesting that the Shogun Zords debut before the Ninja Zords, because, in Season 3, the Ninja Zords and the Falcon Zord are the first set of Zords that appear, but in Kaku Ranger, it was actually reversed. The Shogun Zords were the first set of Zords that they got in Kaku Ranger, and then the Ninja Zords and the Falcon Zord they got later. They adapted, Season 3 adapted Kaku Ranger in a really weird way. They start off with the last half of Kaku Ranger, where they have the Ninja Zords. Then they adapt the first half, where they have the Shogun Zords, and then the Alien Ranger saga adapts the middle, where they have the Shogun Zords and the Battleborgs.
Yeah. The only reason they even did it like that was because since essentially, even if Tsubasa Maru isn't technically part is a 6 Ranger Zord, they still felt since they have 6 Zords, we'll just give each one of the Morph Rangers a Zord. That way it can kind of use the footage from that.
Yep. So a list of some of the cities that are attacked. These are actually cities, the home cities of Power Ranger seasons. The ones that are mentioned by name are Turtle Cove, Wild Forces season, Blue Bay Harbor, Ninja Storm season, Silver Hills, Time Forces season, Panorama City, Samurai's City, although funnily enough, Panorama City was never mentioned by name. We know what Panorama City is because it was shown on Mia's driver's license in one episode. So, and Mariner Bay, Lightspeed Rescue. And speaking of Lightspeed Rescue, we have a Lightspeed Rescue character appearing here. He's not a captain here, but William Mitchell. Captain William Mitchell was the mentor character in Lightspeed Rescue, and here he's an FBI agent. He's the director of the Anti-Alien and Ranger Division, and he lives in Mariner Bay, just like Captain William Mitchell. And he doesn't mention her by name, but he says that he has a daughter who's roughly the age of the Rangers. And if you've watched Power Rangers, you'll know that he has a daughter. Her name is Dana, and she becomes the Pink Lightspeed Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool Easter egg because this gives more of an explanation for where the Lightspeed powers and technology all came from. Because it's showing here that Mitchell is actively investigating from as early as Mighty Morphins.
Yeah.
Yep.
which makes a lot of sense, honestly.
But yeah, I remember when I was listening to this, when I was listening to this originally, I think I was driving in my car while my wife was out of town. I was just driving around, and I like literally like every part of this, my mind was just completely blown with like how much they just take the story up to like a 12 out of 10. Like the
Yeah.
command center getting nuked, like oh my, this feels something like right out of like an S tier like DC or Marvel comic in terms of like storytelling, honestly.
Yeah.
But what did you guys think?
I'm just blown away because this is like something you're never gonna see in Power Rangers. You're never gonna see their families kidnapped, taken to detention cells, and held there against their will. Like, not in this way. This is something very unique and different. And it's working for me on a very high level. Like, this is a really awesome concept.
Yeah. I remember my jaw just dropping, just the fact that the Rangers were like literally being raided by, the FBI, and it's just crazy. Like,
it's wild, like what happens here, and the fact that Zordon can't rescue them because of technology limitations. I mean, that's also pretty awesome writing, because in the main series, sometimes I felt like Zordon just knew where they were at any given time, and it felt a little Deus Ex Machina. But here, he can't know where they are until they activate their morpher or they have the communicator on them.
Yep.
And while they're sleeping, their communicators are not on them. So kudos to Rita for being creative on that.
It just shows you, like, audio drama Rita is up here, and freaking regular Rita from the show, she's about right here, and then you have like Robo Rita is like right above her, right above, like almost like right here where audio drama Rita is, like right above it, just because she's not like quite there yet, but she's only up here because of what happened in the Once and Always special.
And then we got Bandora at the bottom of the pack.
Yeah, she's like way at the bottom.
Yeah. Oh, Bandora.
I don't think we're quite at the point where I'm going to start considering giving these episodes more of a 10, but I'm still giving this a 10. So
yeah, no, it's definitely 10.
Yeah.
All right, so we move on to episode 7, An Eye for an Eye, where next phase of our plan enters. So we get a bit of a fake out where the Rangers are teleported into the command center. Alpha reveals that they gave an illusion that the command center was destroyed through some technology, and they try to come up with a plan to free the other Rangers. Fortunately, Rita hears about this thanks to a bug that Kat planted, and she comes up with her own plan to like have everyone just brand everyone on Earth see the Rangers as enemies, which a plan that really disturbs Kat. I'll tell you how it all works out when we get to it, but she's visibly disturbed over having to do this. But Rita keeps saying, hey, if you don't want to do it, I can kill your family. And she has to, so she keeps on doing it. And at the prison, first we get a little bit of some moments between Jason and Trini. We actually find out that Trini lost her dad when she was young, and she actually admits that she has some feelings toward Jason as well, which is going to be kind of a big deal at the end of this season. So just keep that in the back of your head. Trini's, feels that they've lost, but Jason's confident that they'll pull through. And then Kat arrives at the command center, telling the Rangers that her family's in trouble, which Aisha is very suspicious. But then she convinces everyone to come here, and that's when Kat reveals her true colors to Rita. The Rangers come out, and the Shadow Rangers all show up, including her, and they beat the 5 Rangers into submission. And once all the Rangers are being held captive, Kat becomes the Pink Thunder Ranger again, and she uses the Phoenix Thunder Zord to blow up the Stone Canyon military base, killing hundreds of people and framing the Rangers as evil. Just Rita's plans in this, like, this is like Rancic levels of like genius mastermind stuff. Okay, maybe not Rancic, but Mesogog, because I think Mesogog is a bit more intelligent than Rancic, I think.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Not that I'm bad mouthing Rancic. I still love Rancic, but you know.
Yeah.
And you know, Zach gets angry. You know, everyone starts, you know, blaming Kat, while some of the Thunder Rangers are saying, "Hey, you know, we shouldn't blame Kat because her family was in trouble," and that causes some infighting with the Rangers.
Yeah.
And back at the prison, Tommy and David talk about the effects that the White Tiger coin are having on him, and Rita drains the power from David's Pegasus Thunder coin, which she basically destroys it. And with there being no other option, Tommy gives into the white light. He knows that there's no turning back. He gives into the white light, and you know, that causes him to become the White Ranger, but he's completely given in. Like, he's void of emotion. He's just like a warrior who just wants to do everything to, like, you know, just be the ultimate warrior. And he morphs and he breaks out of his cell and he kills a few human soldiers, and you know, he actually beats the Shadow Rangers into submission, and he actually kills the Yellow Shadow Ranger. And we get to probably one of the most like messed up, like, I want to just kill Bandora here,
Dude.
I know.
Bandora holds Kim and Tommy's mother hostage, and she says, "You can only save one. I'm gonna kill the other." And Tommy, without thinking, he saves Kim because Kim is more valuable than his mother, and
because
as
he
a
can
ranger,
morph.
Yeah.
And his mother is killed by Rita in an instant. Like, she basically Thanoses her, and which is just insane. Like,
yeah,
that is really emotional. And David gets really angry, which, you know, of course makes sense. But luckily, Tommy is able to break all the Rangers out, and they get their morphers, and they retreat to the command center. And everyone is like, you know, bringing up like, "Tommy, how could you do that?" But Tommy is all like, "I did what was important. I don't understand why you're mad at me." Which. And the episode ends with Rita coming up with a plan on how she intends to use the White Ranger, but we'll get to that later.
So this is a very dark episode.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so I don't remember how much detail we went into it earlier in this podcast, but I want to state it again just because it's important. But Tommy is starting to notice before the raid that he's losing his ability to be human, basically.
Mhm.
Like, he can't eat, he doesn't sleep, he feels nothing when he's getting friendly with Kim. He doesn't go to the bathroom. He's basically this super being type thing, but he has no emotion. And it's revealed by Saba that giving into the white light means giving up these imperfections that humanity has, like eating, sleeping, and other things. And so Tommy resisted it at first because he didn't want it. So him taking it now is a big deal because Tommy understands that doing this to save his friends and family will result in him becoming this thing that he doesn't want to become. But if he doesn't do it, his team and his family are all just screwed.
Yeah, he was in a desperate situation because there was no way the other Rangers didn't know where he was, even if the other Rangers were. They didn't have their power coins, so it's understandable. I kind of would have done the same thing if I was in his shoes.
Yeah.
yeah, just I don't know. This is really insane storytelling, and it's going to be a driving force for David's character for the rest of the season. By the way,
Yeah.
Yeah, this definitely doesn't hold back. Is like when Rita says she's gonna kill somebody, she means it.
there's not any references or Easter eggs I could pick up in this episode, so no reason to really bring that up. But so we move on to the episode 8, Return of the Green Ranger, where we get a little bit of internal drama with the team. Kim is of course angry with Saba for turning Tommy into such an emotionless person, but Jason and Trini, they try to comfort David, but he's just brushing them off, and everybody's wondering, can we restore David's Pegasus power coin? But Adam questions, I mean, is it really a good idea to give him his powers back since, he's kind of obsessed with vengeance right now? And there's also a little bit where Billy and Trini meet, and, Billy admits that he doesn't have any romantic feelings for her, and they agree to be mutually friends, which kind of an anticlimactic way to end that story, but not a big deal. The president scolds Rita for her failure and threatens to force her to resign if she fails. They get a new Yellow Shadow Ranger, Private Ryan Maxwell. And Rita has Vinster release a monster to show the world just how much they need the Shadow Rangers. Now, while all this is happening, Kim asks Saba for help when they can't restore the Pegasus coin, and Saba decides, well, I can't restore David's power coin, but they are able to use his power to charge the Dragon power coin, and they give it to David. So David is now the Green Ranger, which is cool. I like that.
And also it comes at the price of giving some of Tommy's White Ranger powers to the Green Ranger.
Yep.
That's an important detail that'll come up later.
Now, Vinster's Black Lizard Monster attacks DC, and, the Shadow Rangers show up to fight it in the Shogun Zords, but then they get beaten badly. And the monster actually destroys the Washington Capitol building, which is a huge deal. When the other Rangers show up, the Red Dragon Thunder Zord gets damaged, so, Tommy leads the other Rangers to battle, and he's able to combine the Tiger Zord with the other 4 Thunder Zords to form the Mega Tiger Zord, which he could also do in the show. Yeah. And while the Mega Tiger Zord is fighting, David heads home because he wants to just mourn the loss of his mom one last time. And it's there that Rita shows up. She was waiting for him. And with David being in just a completely broken mental state from losing his mother and watching his brother let his mother die effectively, she is able to brainwash him. And now, once again, Rita has a Green Ranger under her control. And he shows up, he summons the Dragon Zord, and, beats the Rangers into submission. And the episode ends with the Rangers getting into a huge fight with Tommy because, they don't think that he's really... Jason and Tommy get into a fist fight because, Tommy is just completely emotionless and, he's putting the Rangers down for being weak. Kat gets introduced to a brainwashed David, and she's just completely horrified by everything she's done. And this is where I'm honestly now going to start considering giving this more than a 10 now, based on the very final scene of this episode. A time portal opens up at the end of this episode, and a guy walks out from the future. We hear a very familiar theme song play at the end of this. You know what this guy's name is? Alex Drake.
Sounds familiar. That sounds familiar.
We got Time Force Rangers in this show, ladies and gentlemen.
And if you remember earlier in this podcast, Nathan and I mentioned that we met an actor from this podcast audio drama at Ranger Stop and Pop in Atlanta this year.
Yep.
We met the guy who plays Alex Drake.
Yep.
Like, he's just kind of there in the artist alley, and Nate looks at him and says, "Man, I like your West costume." He says, "Thanks. I play this character in the audio drama," and I'm like, "Audio drama, actor? Wait, I know you."
Wait, I know.
Because at that
he
point,
was-
Nathan had not heard this.
Yeah, he was there. Like he was wearing a West cosplay where he had like the red shirt with like the khakis and the white tank top.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember if he had both the Quantum and Chronomorpher or just the Chronomorpher, but I mean, not.
He had a
big deal.
Chronomorpher.
Okay, he was there with his wife. His wife was cosplaying as Astronema, and they had a cute baby. And like, I remember when we ran into him, like Riz was talking with them, and the entire time, like, I didn't want to interrupt their conversation, but then, like, after Riz was done, like, and we went to this panel, I'm like, dude, there's a Time Force audio drama, and then Riz is all like, oh no, Alex just comes into this. It's like, but it's Mighty Morphin. And then Riz is like, exactly. And that's when it just hit me like, oh my God, I should start listening to this thing right now.
There are references.
Like I kept telling Nathan, Patrick, and Anthony. I mean, Anthony picked up pretty quickly on. I started listening.
I did,
but Nathan was dragging his feet, and I was like, man, I really got to get Nathan hooked on the audio drama because he doesn't know what he's missing out on. And finally, we get him to watch it because he met the guy who played Alex.
I mean, I probably would have watched it anyway, but like,
but it was going to be a lot more pulling teeth in the beginning. I feel like.
Hey, at least you got him to watch and listen to it. I'm sorry, and like, so
I know. Unlike some people named Patrick Island. Oh wait, love you, Pat.
So some references here. This episode, Return of the Green Ranger. There's another name called Return of the Green Ranger in season 2, a 3-part episode. Which, I mean, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that episode, but I'll talk about that another day when we do a season 2 Mighty Morphin review. We of course have the Mega Tiger Zord here, the combination of the White Tiger Zord, Lion, Pegasus, Griffin, and Phoenix Thunder Zords. And like I just said, this episode marks the debut of Alex Drake. If you have watched Time Force, Power Rangers, you'll know that Alex is the very first Red Time Force Ranger in Power Rangers Time Force. I don't know if it was ever confirmed that his last name was Drake in the main series, but here it is going by it because I don't know, like
they use that name in some of the comic iterations for Boom Studios, so I guess that probably is his name.
Because it's weird because the Time Force Rangers from the future, the only guy whose last name was specifically stated was Lucas. There's one episode where he says, "My name is Lucas Kendall" or something. I know Katie's last name was confirmed to be Walker in some versions, and here, like, I don't know if it was confirmed that Jen's last name was Scott's or anything, but I mean, here they're going by his name being last name Alex Drake, and that seems to be accepted in most continuities. So,
yeah.
It was Jen Scott for the longest, but I forgot if it was confirmed on the show or not. I wasn't sure, but it might have. I don't think they directly call her Jen Scott until like maybe I'm guessing like later on. I'm not sure. I have to go back and listen.
But what do we think about this episode, guys?
I mean, can we keep giving it 10s and 11s? Because I mean,
right.
I want to give this an 11, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking too.
Well, okay, maybe not this one, but the next one is where I'm going to start considering if I'll let us give more out of 10.
Yeah, that's going to stay at 10, but man, is it pushing that limit.
I swear.
All right, so episode 9, we have a Force from the Future, which already we got a reference there. That's the same name as the 2-part Time Force premiere episode, and not only that, but it's also what the Omega Ranger says in his roll call, like Force from the Future, SPD Omega Ranger. But
yeah,
I think they were going more for the Time Force thing there. So there's a flashback that reveals that. Well, wait, hold on. One thing I forgot to mention at the end of this episode is that, and we actually find out how it happened, is that the president was actually killed by Rita, and she is now officially impersonating the president herself. She killed, basically the president was considering pardoning the Rangers and accepting their help, but then Rita transformed herself into the president and basically said, no, I can't let you do that. And then she killed him. And this was just before the Capitol was destroyed. And then Rita and the president speaks with Goldar, where apparently this prophet who never appears, but basically he says that there's a plan where they will pit the Green and White Rangers against each other, and the winner will become her servant. And we'll go into more detail about that later. And a cat actually overhears this. So now that Rita is basically president, she declares martial law on the U.S. and, declares that, and basically says that she's challenging the Rangers to a direct battle with the Shadow Rangers. Meanwhile, at the command center, while the Rangers are debating over whether or not they want to accept the challenge, Alex Drake comes and he reveals that he is the Red Time Force Ranger from the year 2297. And he comes to request the help of the Rangers, which Jason accepts. And he basically learns everything on what has happened since they first became Rangers. Apparently, the Rangers are legends in his time, which, I mean, that's cool. Love that touch. But unfortunately, there were a lot of events that have happened in this timeline that are not supposed to happen. Tommy wasn't supposed to die and become the White Ranger. David was never supposed to become a Thunder Ranger. Kat was never supposed to become a Shadow Ranger. And that has led Alex to conclude that someone is intentionally messing with the timeline, and he only has 24 hours to fix it before he's forced to go home. Kat is struggling, as she hears the evil voice from her shadow coin. And she throws the coin away, and out of shame for all she's done, she contacts Zordon and reveals to the Rangers everything that Rita's done with her being the president. And she also reveals their plan to pit Tommy and David against each other, because pretty much what will happen is that if Tommy were to kill David, that would leave him in a weak mental state like David was in, and that would allow Rita to brainwash him. And Billy believes that she wants to turn Tommy into a modern version of what is considered a Greek legend in here, although not really, Drakon, which is an adaptation of the. And Riz and Anthony can explain this a bit more later when we get to the reference section, because I don't really know much about Count Drakon all that much. No, Lord Drakon, sorry.
But to say, he ain't no count, he's a lord.
Right.
Now, they first wanted to kill Tommy, but that's not an option. So Alex reveals this device that he created that will allow them to enter the morphing grid. That's where Tommy's true consciousness lies, and they can restore him to his true self. The original 5 opt to go due to their personal relationship with him. There's, all these big emotional moments between the Rangers, knowing what will happen next. There's a brief time where they all they infiltrate the military bases and they free their families. And Tommy confronts Rita at the White House with Rita trying to manipulate Tommy, saying like, hey, I'm not a bad person. I just want to unite the world and, bring about peace. And you could be my servant if I do that. Like, how does that sound? Huh, Tommy? Huh? Like, she's really manipulating him, which very clever stuff here, honestly. Like, this is like how Palpatine, with all these Star Wars references, damn it. This is exactly how Palpatine manipulated Anakin in the prequel trilogy.
And you want to know something very interesting, like the connection between Rita and, of course, originally when she had brainwashed Tommy, of course, it's so unique. We have to explain it when we get to Draken's backstory, because I have to explain that along with Riz. Because it's so interesting that you said that. Because Because it's honestly a similarity between Palpatine and Anakin when it comes to the corruption and whatnot.
Yep. And she also convinced Tommy that, she'll leave once he defeats David. And the Shadow Rangers and Tommy all, they arrange at the White House. Everyone morphs. And, David and Tommy get in a one-on-one battle. And in the midst of the battle, Rita reveals herself and everyone, that she's actually not the president. And she's put under arrest. But then... And Rita reveals that Zed is going to be returning soon, and Goldar is forced to retreat. And the episode ends with Tommy and David continuing their battle. And just as Tommy corners David, Alex completes the device, and the other five Rangers, the first five Rangers, all go into the morphing grid. So that's cool. Only real thing is that, of course, we know Alex is the Red Time Force Ranger. A cool thing that I thought is that Alex said that Time Force is looking to create technology called time ships, but they're a few years away. Well, his current time is 2297. Well, good news, Alex. Apparently, according to the main series, 3 years from now in 3000, you're going to have time ships, because that's how the Time Force Rangers travel to the year 2001 in the main series.
Yeah. No, it doesn't really end well for him at first.
No, but... We'll actually be talking about that not too long soon, because we're going to be doing Time Force very soon. But
yes.
What did we all think about this episode?
I think we're going to have to start getting out to the 11s now, Nate.
We got to get to 11s now. It's a guarantee. We have to get to 11s right now.
See, these 10s we've been given, then be some rookie numbers. You got to pump those numbers up.
Pump those numbers up, man. Got to pump those numbers up. The rookie numbers.
I'm giving this a 15 at least.
Wow, we're skipping over to 11 and going to a 15.
Yeah, this is just like the Rangers having to go into the actual morphing grid and like bringing in like Alex and just like the manipulation that Kat goes through that ultimately results in her redeeming herself, and like Rita being the president and like using this power. Like this is all like, this is just stuff like this is what Power Rangers can be if it like really hits its true potential. Like this is like S tier. Like again, I keep saying this. I'm a huge fan of reading Marvel and some Justice League comics. Like some of the best comics I remember reading had this type of storytelling. This stuff is literally, and you know what? I don't care how many Star Wars references I'm going to be making anymore. This is like on par with like season 3 of Star Wars Rebels or season 5 of the Clone Wars. And if you've seen Riz and mine review of season 3 of Star Wars Rebels, you'll know that that's like that's one of the most perfect single pieces of Star Wars media. So
yep, you can't top it, man.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 15. I'm like slowly working myself up the ladder. I'm taking 5 steps up the ladder in one step.
So Nathan's convinced me, but I see your measly 15, and I'm gonna raise you 100 out of 10. Screw it.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
But do we want to talk about the Dracon reference first, or wait till we move on to the next one?
What do you think, Anthony?
I mean, honestly, we don't really have to per se until like. Do you want to wait till season 3 to talk about that, or no? Because people like who's Drake? I feel like people maybe want to know because they may want to be interested in the comics and reading the comics possibly if we mention this.
Yeah, but I mean, okay. So the reason I'm hesitating, Nate, is there's a huge Dracon thing coming that you haven't listened to yet.
Yeah.
And when we see Dracon there, that's more in line with the comics reference than this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I do want to give it a quick and dirty what's going on here, just so that
Yeah.
people who are curious about us vague posting will at least know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So in the Boom Studio comics, Tommy dies, like he did in the audio drama.
Yep.
And it's revealed that he is killed by a guy named Lord Draken, who looks like Tommy, and he hails from an alternate universe where Rita turned Tommy evil, but he never turned good, and his powers continue to grow exponentially. And he somehow was able to take the white tiger coin and the green dragon coin and put those powers together to create his Lord Draken armor,
Mm-hmm.
which is what you see in that little trailer that ZDF did before his death.
Yep.
Yeah.
So basically, Lord Draken in the comics is hopping around different universes and timelines to judge the different Tommies and decide if they're worthy of joining him or not, or if they're a disappointment and must be killed. Which is why the main series Tommy in the Boom Studio continuity dies.
Yeah.
It's because he was judged too much of a goody two-shoes compared to Lord Draken. He's not going to realize the full potential of the power he can have.
Okay, that's cool.
So that's kind of a setup to what you're going to see later on in this audio drama. But this is the first reference to Lord Draken.
Yeah.
And as we get closer to the next part, we can break it down even further, I think, Anthony.
Yeah. But I will say this, like, he is definitely an Avengers level threat because, like, yeah.
That's a Thanos level threat right there. Maybe Galactus.
Maybe Galactus, yeah. And that's what he does in the comics. Like, my God, like, yeah,
No, like in the comics, he is a Galactus level threat.
Wow. And Galactus is bigger than Thanos, so.
And he's a big deal. Like, the stuff he does in the comics, I mean, Anthony, I haven't read anywhere near as far as you did, but I've read, like, the first 45 issues, I think, before I lost track of it. And, man, that stuff goes hard.
It does.
And the stuff I've read since, like, the articles online, oh, my God. It only gets crazier, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is the first 11 out of 10.
Yep. All right, so now we move on to episode 10, Into the Grid. Now, these last 3 episodes are I actually listened to these like literally today before the podcast, so these are a bit fresher in my mind, so I can kind of sum them up a bit quicker. So most of this episode is that while the Thunder Rangers are battling against the Shadow Rangers, the other Rangers are in the morphing grid, and they actually find Tommy. Now, at first, when they're in a memory at the Angel Grove Carnival, they think they've traveled back in time. But in reality, what's happened is that Saba is using Tommy's body as a host for the White Ranger powers. But in exchange for Tommy losing his consciousness, he's letting Tommy live in happy memories. So he's living in like this happy memory of him being with the Rangers at the carnival. He lives with a happy memory where like he and Kim were spending time together at her house. So that's pretty cool. And the Rangers encounter Saba, who is now in a human form, and they try to convince him to return Tommy. And meanwhile, back at the battle, Alex, and this is cool. We have the Time Force music playing again, and he activates his chronomorpher. He says Time Force. We actually hear the actual sound effects of the Time Force morphing sequence. So that was pretty cool. I mean, okay, I'm not a fan of Alex as a character. I don't think many people are fans of Alex in the main series, but just having a Time Force Ranger here is just amazing.
Well, okay, to be fair, for me, I did like Alex at the beginning, before he, died, of course. But then after he came back, I could not stand him.
Yeah.
Could not stand him.
Yeah.
Well, of course, all the Rangers couldn't either, but that's just me.
Just wait until you see what his Sentai counterpart is up to, buddy. That's not nope. Shut up, Nathan. You're not going to get.
We're not going there. We're going to hold off until later.
But anyway, back here, the Thunder Rangers actually defeat all the Shadow Rangers and they reclaim their coins. And well, not everyone, because Chad gets put in the morphing grid, and they actually help Chad discover that he's being used by Rita. Saba is shown a vision of the future of what will happen if Tommy defeats David, and we get a vision where the Dragon Coin and the Tiger Coin are merged together, turning Tommy into Lord Draken, and he'll kill Lord Zed and become a new ruler of the world, and he will actually shatter the morphing grid as a result of that, which I'm guessing that's part of like the Shattered Grid.
That's why it's called Shattered Grid. Yep.
Okay. And by the way, I am going to read those things at some point. Maybe when I want to take a break and reading some of these Star Wars novels, I should check out these comics.
They're taking a break from Star Wars novels.
I know, but sometimes I do take breaks. So, with this being such a bleak future, Saba decides that there's this radical plan where he can use all of his energy to reconfigure the White Tiger Coin into a new one where Tommy is still the White Ranger, but he's still truly alive. And at first he doesn't want to, but then the Rangers convince him to, and then Kim has to confront Tommy and convince him to let Saba do that. He gets a vision of David, as he let his mother die, and he speaks with David. And after all this, Tommy is revived as the White Ranger, and that allows the Rangers to return from the morphing grid. They return back. Tommy and David fight, and David gains the upper hand, and he's ready to kill Tommy. But now he knows the Tommy that let our mother die, that's not the real Tommy. And he backs down, and they hug while crying, and the battle's over. All of the Rangers are brought in. Kat and Chad decide to turn themselves in for all that they've done. The Rangers, after a bit of a heated debate, they decide to have Alpha and Zordon use this device in the command center to wipe their parents' memories of them being Power Rangers. And Alex, with the timeline properly restored, he bids farewell and enters a time portal. He returns to the future, saying it was an honor. And the episode ends with Tommy watching a military funeral for some of the men he killed. The Rangers' names are cleared since no one who's alive remembers their identities. Tommy and Kim have a heartfelt moment, but unfortunately, at the White House, Vinster in his human form finds Pandora's magic ring. Dun dun dun. But I already brought up the Riz and Anthony can talk about the Lord Draken stuff, but one other reference here is that we don't see her, but when Alex is returning home, he gets a call from someone on his morpher. Who is that? It's his fiance, Jen Scotts. If you don't know who Jen Scotts is, you're not a real Power Rangers fan. I'm not even going to tell you who Jen is. Like, if you don't know who she is, you shouldn't be listening to this podcast.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm just saying that. But you guys want to say more about like how the Lord Draken stuff relates to what Saba's vision, guys?
I mean, I think we already covered it for the most part, like the big broad strokes of it.
Yeah.
There isn't very much more that I would want to bring up about Saba here, or like. So the big thing I want to bring up about Saba is a reference to Marvel, actually. So Jason tells Saba, look at all the different possible outcomes of history from this point on. If Tommy is to keep in power, what'll happen? And all I can imagine is Doctor Strange with the time amulet in the Avengers movies.
Yeah.
Looking at every possible outcome of what'll happen to figure out how to end Thanos properly.
Yep.
Like that's what I imagine when I hear that scene.
Yeah, that's cool.
But no, about Lord Draken, I mean, again, we're gonna get a lot more about him in the next season. But what I will say is that I think it's a pretty accurate depiction from the Boom Studio
Yeah.
comics.
Yeah. Because him and Saba have a connection in that one too.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of messed up what happens to Saba when dealing with him. So
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? No, with all the emotion that Tommy goes through and like, you know, the stuff and just the idea of them entering the morphing grid in general, Tommy's being there. Like, again, this is just like S tier storytelling. Like, you know what? Riz gave the last one 100 out of 10. Could I give a 110? You know, could I do that? Because I feel tempted with that. But yeah, this is, I mean, I don't know how many more ways we can come up with saying just like how great this storytelling is. Like,
you can't. It's impossible.
Yeah, this is this top tier, S tier writing that I've never seen anywhere in the Sentai and Power Rangers and anything.
yep. Like this series, like I don't even want to consider this like this isn't like a league of its own when it comes to like tokusatsu stuff. What did you say?
It's giving a run for its money.
Okay, so we move on to episode 11, the year of the Power Rangers. Most of this is just you know, just showing what the Rangers are up to during the new year. Tommy and David go to Kim's house for Thanksgiving. They all know that Zed's return is inevitable, but they're still trying to like, you know, keep themselves distracted. Everyone is, you know, nearing high school graduation, and they're you know, they celebrate Christmas with their families. Adam actually gets a call from Chad where they catch up, and Chad tells Adam, like, Adam, you should just accept it. I do think that you're gay. And he actually comes out to Rocky and Aisha, and their reaction to him being gay is, okay, cool. You're still our best friend.
Much.
So
yeah, pretty much.
Like,
it's like, dude, we don't care. Like,
which I love that. I really
Yeah.
do. Like, at New Year's Day, everyone except the Oliver brothers are, you know, together for a house party. They're all apparently, you know, going to be going to Angel Grove University, which is pretty cool. Jason and Trini, who were getting much closer over the last few episodes, since they were locked in a cell, they flirt with each other, and they're pretty much a couple by the end of this episode. So, which is fine. I mean, I don't know. I thought that Jason and Trini had some chemistry in the main show, so that's not a big deal. As the new year begins, Vinster visits Rita in her military prison and offers her the magic ring, but Rita's worried about what Zed will do to her when he finds out what she's been doing. And a little bit later, you know, so basically Rita wants the Rangers to defeat Lord Zed, and she tells Zed to like keep the Rangers on their toes by constantly attacking monsters. A monster does attack, and, you know, the Rangers fight it off with the Thunder Megazord and the Tiger Zord, and the Rangers keep fighting monsters over the next few months. You know, Jason and Rocky are going to be taking Trini and Aisha on a double date to Hawaii in celebration. And, you know, Jason encourages Tommy to ask Kim out, which he does. But, you know, Tommy and Kim are kind of in a weird point in their relationship. And the episode ends with Zed's fleet arriving through a portal. They come to Earth. They've defeated the Machine Empire. King Mondo's head is on display on the flagship, and Zed orders the course to be set for Earth as he prepares his next invasion. Only reference I can get is that at one point, Zach tells his dad he wants to study dancing in college, which I find that funny because Zach's hobby in the main series is dancing. Everybody who's
Mm-hmm.
seen the original knows that he has his own hip hop keto thing. So,
Yep.
I don't think any episodes previously have established his love for dancing. So I just loved that
Right.
in this continuity, not the
Mhm.
main series continuity. So, what do we think about this one, guys?
Oof. How many ways can I say 11 or 15 or 100 or 110 or whatever? Like,
And while yes, this is a slow burn. It's not like like the action packed drama that we're used to with everything else. This was still a serviceable episode. Just dealing with the fact that the Rangers are just kind of like on this like return to normal basis. Well,
Yeah.
as normal as you can get, as opposed to what they've been through this past.
I want to give this 1 to 10 just because it's slow, but I still welcome it because, episodes 6 through 10 were like bam, 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 bam. So
Like
it's nice to finally have one where we get to catch our breath just a little bit.
A
yeah, a
little
lot of emotional damage is basically what
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the last episode here. Rangers No More. As the episode begins, Tommy and Kat, they graduate high school. Everyone else is, graduating high school all over the place, and they're all looking forward to attending Angel Grove University together. But aboard Zed's fleet, we actually find out that Lord Zed actually defeated the Machine Empire with the help of a mysterious being. His name is Vilius. I think that's what he's supposed to be called, and he gave Zed his own forces and a new flagship under the command of his son Rito Bondora. You guys should know who that is. Well, I'll talk about that in the references section. Zed attacks the world with his fleet, and all 11 Rangers morph. Now, thankfully, Zordon and Alpha have restored the Dinozords to where, they can now form the original Megazord. So basically, the Thunder Megazord, the original Megazord, Dragonzord, Tigerzord, and Titanus, they fight off Zed's all-out invasion. Now, during this time, Rita is brought on board. She's teleported on board. She's forced to work with Zed because she is also Vilius's daughter, and he wants his daughter freed. So he basically forces Zed to work with Rita. And the Rangers, they continue to fight, but they get overwhelmed. The dragon, Zed's forces prove to be too powerful. And the Titanus is destroyed. One of the big ships Rocky manages to take out with the Red Dragon in warrior mode, but all the other Zords are completely overwhelmed, and eventually they're forced to self-destruct the Megazords to try and take out Zed's flagship, and they actually do severely damage it. And not all of them are self-destructed because the Red Dragon Thunder Zord survives with Rocky still inside. But then at the end of the episode, the 10 Rangers, everyone except Rocky, they show up to fight, and Zed charges Rita's staff to full power, and she's able to use that to drain all of the Rangers' power coins, so they're all powerless. The episode ends as the Rangers are left powerless as they wonder what they can do, and meanwhile, in the future of another universe, there's this mysterious warrior talking with Tommy's voice who prepares to pay the real world a visit himself. And that's how the season ends. Now, a couple of references here. I don't know if he appeared in previous episodes, but maybe I missed it. But Tommy and Kim are given their diplomas from Principal Kaplan. This is an adaptation of a recurring character who was on the show from Body Morphin Season 1 all the way to Turbo. Rito makes his debut here. He is the son of Vilius, just like in Mighty Morphin, and his counterpart is also the son of a master of Vilius's counterpart in a Kaku Ranger. He is, right, Anthony?
Yes.
Okay.
Junior. His name is Junior in Kaku Ranger, and they are father and son. Yes.
Yep. Now, just like in the main show, he constantly calls Zed Ed. Although in this version, he's calling Zed, he's calling him Ed just to mock him, while in the main series he's just legitimately stupid and can't remember Zed's real name.
Now, before we move on to the next Easter egg, I do want to call out one more kind of sort of Easter egg, but when I explain it, you'll understand why I want to call attention to this.
Yeah, go ahead.
The guy who plays Rito in this audio drama going forward is Nathan Marchand, who is the co-host of the Power Trip podcast and is the only reason I know this thing existed. Because when I was listening to the Power Trips breakdown of every Power Ranger season throughout the 30 years of Power Rangers, there are certain episodes where this voice of Rito makes an appearance in their podcast.
Oh,
And
that's
so,
cool.
Yeah, so Nathan will actually play it up, and he'll role play Rito and him being roommates, and Rito's locked in a closet somewhere. But every now and then, Rito will escape, knock out Nathan, and start talking about how he and Ed did this and he and Ed did that. Most notably, it happened in a Dino Fury episode, but it also happened in Once and Always when Rita comes back. Because Rita's all like, my sis came back in that Once and Always thing, but nobody bothered to call good old Rito. The Z-Wave didn't even kill me. I'm still out here living and kicking, waiting for somebody to call me back. So it's because of Nathan's comedy sketches in the Power Trip podcast. That's the reason I know about the audio drama. And all the other Karl Dutton works. Huh?
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. Now, we also have Vilius here, who is an adaptation of Master Vile from season 3. He's pretty much the same character. He's a very powerful villain. He's the father of Rita and Rito, and which I can't remember the name of his Sentai counterpart, but that's he was adapted from the main villain in Kaku Ranger, Daimo or something. I can't remember. But he also mentions the Zeo crystal at one point, which was powering Zed's last vessel. The Zeo crystal is a powerful crystal that serves as the source of the Zeo Ranger's powers and Power Ranger Zeo. So that's pretty cool. Yep. So what did we think of this last episode, guys, on how we wrap this up?
This was the best episode of the 2 seasons so far, by far.
Yeah, definitely.
Just the emotion and the energy when all 11 of them do their final morph and they call the Zords together. All that emotion is just amazing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did like this one. Maybe I feel like the stuff, that led up before with the whole final battle, with the Shadow Rangers and everything. I might have preferred that just a little bit more, but I probably look at this as kind of in the same way, what if season 2 ended with, what if season 2 ended with a 2-parter where the Thunder Zords get destroyed instead of just having that happen at the beginning of season 3?
Yeah.
I love how, they have that transition. So
yeah.
This is definitely going to be one of those episodes where I give something higher than a 10, although I can't think of my number just yet, but I don't know. Maybe I felt somewhat overwhelmed with, after the big final battle, 2 episodes prior, but that's not saying as much because it's because this is still epic than half the stuff we get from other Power Ranger seasons. So I don't want to badmouth this at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Nate, you had it right. It's his name is pronounced Daimao.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm probably going to give this. Well, what are you guys going to give it?
I'm waiting for you guys to go first for comedic effect.
I'll probably give this 15 again.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it a 12 because I don't want to just give it go overboard with it. I mean, it's obviously above a 10. Obviously, I just don't want to go overboard with it.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go. Quick, what's the rating of this episode? It's over 9,000!
What? 9,000? There's no way!
So we don't really have to talk much about the plot on that. We'll move on to the analysis because we've just gone over the plot. Like, this is all just S tier story run. Is there a way to put something higher than an S? Because it would be that.
S plus. There.
I give it an S plus. Like,
yeah.
Do we want to talk about the villains here?
I mean, all I'm going to say is Rita Bandora in this audio drama makes herself quite possibly the most devious, cunning, compelling villain I've ever seen in anything with the name Power Rangers or Super Sentai attached to it.
Oh, big facts. Yeah.
Lord Zed, I mean, he's a good villain, don't get me wrong, but he's kind of generic in comparison to Rita.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm curious to see what Vilius is like in season 3 because I'm kind of intrigued by him because I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Like I ever since I've watched Kaku Ranger, I actually really liked Vilius's counterpart, the Daimao. So like, and I mean, Master Vile, I mean, he was cool when he was actually in season 3. So I'm curious to see how they adapt him there. But honestly, the only villain that I think really stands out is Rita, because like Scorpina doesn't appear that much, and I mean I do wish that they went a little bit in with like Goldar and Scorpina's relationship just a little bit, because if you watch this season without listening to season 1, you wouldn't know that they were married in season 1, so that sucks a little bit. But
you'll when we get to season 3, you'll see.
Okay, thank God. So, but yeah, I mean, Rita is like she's always like 10,000 steps ahead of the Rangers. Like,
yeah, it's crazy how like manipulative she can be, and how like she's just able to figure stuff out as easily. It's like, thank God she doesn't exist in real life. We all be dead.
Yeah.
Yep. So, we can talk about some of the Rangers here. Not all of the Rangers I think are created equal here. Like, I honestly, like, we can start with Jason because I feel like he legitimately needs to be talked about here. What do we think of Jason's character?
Jason's character has gone through something that most people in this country could never understand.
Definitely not. Yeah.
Like, the things he has had to endure with the loss of his family, the loss of his hometown, and the utter destruction of his hometown on top of that. Those are things you cannot quantify. And he went through it. Like I said earlier, the actor did a phenomenal job portraying and giving that sense of emotion. Like, that was grade A acting on his part.
Yep.
So I would call Jason an S tier character in this season.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah, I think Riz put it perfectly there.
Yeah.
Zach, I think, was kind of stagnant this season. I mean, Zach is still great, but I think he was stagnant here.
He definitely was stagnant. The best things about him is his Star Wars references and just his attitude in general.
Yep.
Yeah.
Trini is kind of weird for me. Like, she thinks she likes Billy, but then at the same time, she likes Jason as well. Like,
I mean, that's typical high school girl, though.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess you're right. I think Trini was about the same as she was the previous season. Still a great character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything to add there?
No.
What
I
about?
do know that Jason and Trini kind of had a thing in the comics too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't last long, but it was nice to have. It was still there though.
What about Billy, you guys?
Billy is a very interesting character here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, mainly for his interactions with Trini. Like, I don't understand what they're going for with Billy. Because on one hand, he claims that he loves her, he can't be without her. But then he lets her go to Jason. Or, I mean, he lets her go in general, and she ends up with Jason, and he gets hurt again. But I just have a hard time understanding what they're doing here with Billy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know he's not gay, but is he asexual, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
That's what I'm kind of getting out of this.
Did they go any further with that in season 3?
A little bit, but not a
little
lot.
bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
The focus turns away from Billy to other characters a lot more, namely Adam.
Yeah.
What about Kimberly?
Kimberly is still the same as season 1 in terms of like the amount of emotion she's giving, and like again, she and Jason are basically hitting home that emotion super hard, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna save him till last.
Tommy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, aside from I think Adam has a good setup for stuff, and I mean, he's gonna go in more in season 3, but like the 3 Stone Canyon kids, I think are, I mean, they're not bad, but I mean, honestly, I don't get much of anything from Rocky. I think Rocky was just kind of there for most of his season. Aisha has this real like sassy attitude, which I love. Like, I really like Aisha in this season, but she doesn't do much aside from her attitude. But what do you guys think of the 3 Stone Canyon kids? Because there's not much to talk about with.
I'm gonna give you a spoiler-free answer.
Okay.
Season 2, with regards to all 3 Stone Canyon kids, is a setup for season 3.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because all 3 characters in season 3 go through some insane stuff.
Yeah.
Rocky and Adam especially.
Especially Rocky.
No, especially Adam. I don't want to hear it from you about Rocky being worse than Adam.
No, I'm saying like in terms of like just, crazy development, but
yeah.
Adam gets the short end of the stick though.
Yeah. David, like we said, is a jackass earlier.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the emotion he portrays with his mom's death and his reaction to Tommy is very on point for somebody in that position. And I mean, when we get to season 3 and you kind of see more of David and Tommy growing up, a lot of David's personality starts to make a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have more respect for him after season 3.
Yeah.
But I don't have like a negative view of David right now. I just think he's more abrasive than not.
Yeah.
And part of that is because David's a little bit older than the rest of the group. I think he's like 2-3 years older at least, and he has a full-time job. He's a college student.
Yeah.
So him having to stop and go work with these kids, I feel like he finds that a little bit demeaning.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly think it sucks that I think we only see, you can count the amount of times you see him become the blue Pegasus Ranger on one hand. Like, I
Yeah.
I kind of wish that he spent more time as the Blue Ranger. But I can still say that he's an interesting character because I don't really know how to compare him to his main series counterpart because honestly, I don't remember much of the Zeo arc.
All it was that he was just the brother of Tommy, and he was inheriting his Native American roots, from what I remember.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about Kat?
Kat is another one who has a really compelling story here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I like the way they took Kat in this more than how I like how Rita just brainwashed her.
Yeah.
Like, this makes it more real.
The only issue I have, but then again, I don't know how they could have adapted it, so I'm not going to make a huge big deal. But like, they don't even try to touch the idea that, and again, Kimberly's in the picture, so it would be very difficult to do this. But they don't even try to touch the idea that Tommy and Kat could be a romantic thing, and maybe that I don't know. Maybe the people who did this are part of that club that think that like Tommy and Kat never happened because there's a section of fans like that. Like Tommy and Kat might be one of the most hated couples in Power Rangers, so maybe that's the case. I can respect them not doing that. It just feels kind of weird, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Just keep wait for season 3. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Season 3 will do some stuff that you're going to find very entertaining.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's get on to I don't have any problem calling this guy the GOAT now that his actor is no longer with us. Tommy, the GOAT.
Yes.
Like, what do we think of him? Anybody want to go first?
I have a hard time putting into words what I think about Tommy because there's so many different aspects to him in this season.
I know.
Like, he is, first of all, he died.
Yeah.
He's resurrected, brought back to life. He's trying to reconnect with Kim. He forgives Kim for Jason. And they start having a normal teenage relationship. But then as soon as he does that, he starts to feel not like himself. Only to realize that the thing that saved him is slowly converting him into something that he didn't want to become. And he tries to fight it, and then he can't fight it, and then he becomes this supreme evil thing in the making. And then he becomes the leader of the team for real after he's turned back to the good again, because he was evil before. So that's literally the second time the guy's turned evil in 2 seasons. So I'm going to say Tommy's a very complicated character.
Definitely.
More complicated than what we got in the main series stuff.
I think the thing that really sold me on him, and I don't know where they got this idea, because this is not something that they bring from the main series. Like, the idea that when he becomes the White Ranger, like, the concept of the white light and him becoming like this soulless, emotionless warrior who's nothing more than just a host for the powers, like that. When I first was listening to this, like a couple of months ago, that was when that was the first sign for me that like this is where the storytelling is going from like a 10 to a 15, honestly. Like,
yeah,
because it's a fascinating concept. I don't know where they got the idea from it, because they certainly didn't get it from the main series or anything. But
I think Anthony said it's partly from Boom Studios.
Okay, but
yeah,
but that's still pretty cool.
It is,
Like,
but I think the strength of Karl Dutton and his team here is the way that they're able to cross in elements of Mighty Morphin, Time Force, Zero Ranger, Cocker Ranger, Dairanger, the 95 movie and the 2017 movie.
yeah.
And create something like this.
But it's kind of funny that they tied in Time Force with Mighty Morphin, which is actually ironic because it did the same thing for the Shattered Grid arc. But it wasn't Alex, it was somebody else. But I'm not gonna tell you who it is because I wanted you to read it for yourself.
Yeah.
Do do we have any final thoughts we want to give here?
It's over 9,000.
Yeah.
Overall, I enjoyed it. Overall, I enjoyed it. Really, it's nothing
Yeah.
really much else I can say.
Yeah, and it's only going to get better in the next season, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean,
And-
the main thing I want to say is like, okay, sorry, Riz, you can go ahead.
No, go ahead.
When I was listening to this, like I would listen to it during work, and like when we got to like episode 6, I just didn't want to put the whole thing down. Like my wife was out of town most of the time when I was originally listening to this, so I did like a bit of driving. Like I went out to like get me dinner or something. Like I brought my earbuds with me just so I could listen to this thing while I was eating dinner. Like I was just addicted to it. Like when I wasn't listening to this, I really wished I was listening to it.
And that was me all the way through what you listened to until episode 3 of season 3, because episode 1 and 2 are extremely powerful episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get to the season 3 review of the audio drama, we're in for another insane roller coaster of emotion. And while they have not yet topped the finale of season 2 in terms of intensity, we're not at the end of season 3 yet.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, it's still phenomenal writing all the way through. So
More phenomenal writing.
I'm very excited to see you guys get through season 3 and play the waiting game that I'm playing.
Right. Me too.
I mean, you say over 9,000. I'm gonna give this a 1,000,000 out of 10.
Not a million.
If you want to put it over 9,000, I okay. I'm sorry.
But see, when you say it's 1,000,000, you're still giving the same number I'm giving, because I said over 9,000. I didn't specify what number over 9,000.
Okay, fair enough.
It's like Infinity. You can never win against me now.
Okay, Anthony, you want to give a reasonable number so that Riz and I just be in the.
I'm gonna give it a 12. I'm just gonna give it a 12.
All right, so that wraps up season 2. We apologize that this went on for a little over 2 hours, but there was a lot to talk about with everything. We very much enjoyed it. Now, as far as the future for the audio drama, so as of the recording of this, the season 3 is up to 7 episodes. So I'm assuming that there's going to be 5 left if they're going to keep the 12 episode system. But with the SAG strike still going on, as the Screen Actors Guild strike still going on, they're having difficult time getting everything back on. But they'll return as soon as they can. We do want to get Karl Dutton on very soon to talk with him about this. Riz has actually spoken with Karl, and he will come on at some unspecified time, but we are going to get him on to, just talk with him about it for a little bit. But we'll do season 3, pretty much at this point, you could say that like the day after episode 12 drops, we could do season 3 after that. We don't know when that'll happen, but we'll get on season 3 as soon as we can, and we'll continue. And if the audio drama continues into if they decide to do like a Zeo drama or something like that,
they're going to continue doing season after season.
Then we'll continue to watch that,
because they've already taken. I've already gotten from Karl that they're going to do a Zeo season after.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right.
And just another note. So I'm a Patreon supporter of the Scyther audio dramas as a whole. And one of the perks we get is early access to the scripts for future episodes, which I don't read because I want to go into these recordings with an open mind and blank mind. But just looking at the feed, they have a lot of recording done for episode 8, and the first draft of episode 9 script is done.
Cool.
So there is stuff going on in the background. They're just not publishing because of out of respect for the strike going on.
Which I perfectly respect them for doing that.
Yeah.
So a little bit of just some future podcasts. We're going to continue doing our King Odra. We've fell a little bit behind, but we'll get back to King Odra as soon as we can. We are going to have Patrick on, and we are going to be reviewing Power Rangers Cosmic Fury, which dropped about 2 weeks ago. We're really looking forward to having the whole crew on that because we got a lot of things to say, mostly positive. We might have some issues, but I think we're all gonna have mostly some positive things to say about Cosmic Fury. We have also recorded our first podcast on Mirai Sentai Dairanger, and we'll be recording another one. We might increase the number of episodes we're doing per segment, but we'll talk about that at some other time. But with that said, we thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to this. If you have not seen the audio drama, well, listen to the audio drama in this case, check it out. Because we really want to bring awareness to this type of fan-created content because this is amazing. Show Karl Dutton some support. You can listen to it on Spotify, or you can go to Scyther Inc. On YouTube to listen to his content as well. Just show Karl Dutton some love because the amount of effort that he puts into this stuff is amazing. But as for us, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're not already subscribed. You can check out our other podcasts like Anime Declassified and the Jedi Squadron podcast. You can also find us on Spotify and iTunes. We thank everybody who takes the time to listen to us on that. Leave any comments down below on the YouTube video, like this video. Check us out at animesecrets.org where you can leave us feedback, and you can leave us feedback on our social media pages like Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And that about wraps this up. We'll see you guys next time for our next podcast. But until that time, you guys stay safe. We love you, and may the power protect you.